Most retirees don't run into trouble because they picked one bad investment. They run into trouble when there's no clear retirement system. So think about it like this: everything's sitting in one big pile. We get a checking account, on top of that's a brokerage account. You got a couple old 401k accounts, maybe an IRA, maybe it's a Roth IRA account, and maybe an HSA or health savings account. And then once retirement begins, the questions start coming real quickly. Questions like, which account should I spend from first? How much cash should I keep on hand? When should I take Social Security? Should I do that Roth conversion? And which account would create the lowest tax bill based on this year's tax situation? And maybe it's also questions like, which dollars should I leave alone so they grow more for long term later in legacy? And now that's where retirement can start to feel real overwhelming because the accounts and the investments, they could be fine, and the amount that you saved could be enough, but without organization, every decision feels harder than it needs to be. The most confident retirees that I've worked with over the last 20 years usually don't think about retirement as just one giant portfolio. They actually think about it in defined sections, or we can call it buckets or even decision zones. So there's different parts of the plan with different jobs. And when each part of the plan has a very clear purpose, then decisions become much easier to make. So in this video, I'd like to walk you through 7 retirement buckets that can help you organize your income, your taxes, your investments, your healthcare planning, and your legacy goals all in one place. Hi, I'm Chris Knight with Cornerstone Wealth Planning, and one of the things that we help clients do is take all the moving pieces of retirement and organize them into one plan that works together. And if at any point during this video you would like help building your own retirement income strategy, then there's a link in the description where you can schedule a call with our team. Okay, let's get started. So first bucket, let's think about cash and short-term reserves. Now this is the bucket most people can understand pretty immediately. You think about cash, your checking accounts, your savings accounts, money markets, emergency reserves. So the purpose of this bucket is liquidity, safety, and flexibility. So we can think about this as your sleep at night money. This helps ease your burden when life gets inconvenient. For example, and I've had these things happen here recently in my own house, the water heater breaks, the roof needs work, maybe you have a family member in need, or other things that happen outside of our control. The markets drop sharply, and you don't want every unexpected expense forcing you to sell your investments at the wrong time. So this is exactly what the job of cash in this bucket is designed to do. It's not there to create the highest level of return. It's there to create stability. Now, there is a balance. Some retirees hold maybe too little cash, and they feel vulnerable every time that a market move takes place. And others may hold, in a sense, too much cash, years and years of spending. And unfortunately, the issue of cash is that slowly over time you could lose purchasing power due to inflation. So the question isn't simply how much cash should I have, but oftentimes the better question is how much cash does my retirement plan need to function smoothly? Now that answer depends on your income sources, your spending needs, your investment strategy, and your overall comfort level with risk. Now let's move to one of the most flexible buckets in retirement. Bucket number 2. This will be your taxable brokerage investment accounts. So this bucket would be one that's a brokerage account, a joint investment account, an individual account, maybe even trust accounts. But these are non-IRA, non-401k type of accounts. So unlike traditional IRAs or 401ks, these taxable brokerage accounts don't always create ordinary income whenever your money is accessed. And that's the important part to think about versus a retirement account, which does end up being taxable fully on your tax return if it's a traditional IRA or 401k, obviously not a Roth account. Now, you will have some of this potentially taxed as dividends, interest income, or capital gains, which can be short-term or long-term. Now, there is flexibility here potentially with your long-term capital gains depending upon your tax situation. So depending on your income and your taxes for the year, you potentially could have 0% capital gains levels for long-term gains on the federal level. This will all depend upon your income and your filing status, obviously. Now, that can make taxable accounts very useful for retirement planning because they can help you bridge the gap for your income needs. They may help you delay Social Security. They could create room for Roth conversions. They could help you maybe avoid IRMA and Medicare increased premiums. And then they also could help you avoid making large withdrawals from your IRA accounts, which can create taxes and compound those tax rates overall. Now, a lot of retirees underestimate how useful the flexibility can be for an account like this once those paychecks stop. So think more about a brokerage account, which again is a non-retirement account, and the benefits of using one like that. All right, that's bucket 2. This brings us now to bucket number 3, which is looking at traditional IRAs and 401ks. Now, this bucket often contains most people's largest balances because these are ones you put money into over the years. Your employers likely match those funds, and it's compounded over a working career. So this includes ones such as traditional IRAs, 401ks, 403b accounts, maybe even 457 plans, and any other pre-tax retirement account. Now, these accounts are powerful when you're working because they allow for tax savings on the front end and tax deferral, but eventually these taxes have to be addressed. And that's where a lot of retirees really get surprised. They look at $1 million IRA and think, wow, there's $1 million sitting here in this IRA account. And unfortunately, the reality often is that a portion of that will eventually have to go to taxes. So the question is to ask yourself something like this: how much of this account will actually I keep after taxes are considered? And this is why tax planning is an absolute must as you look at your own retirement. Traditional retirement accounts affect withdrawals. These withdrawals affect your taxable income. Your taxable income will affect this overall Social Security taxation. Modified adjusted gross income affects your Medicare premiums. And eventually, on top of everything, you will have required minimum distributions that will force income even if you don't need it. So that doesn't make traditional retirement accounts bad in themselves, but it does mean that they need to be managed very intentionally. And at Cornerstone Wealth Planning, this is where we help often with clients evaluating questions like this: which accounts should income come from first? When do those Roth conversions make sense? How could these future RMDs affect the plan? And how does all this work with things like Social Security and survivor benefits from Social Security? So these are the kinds of questions that can make a significant difference over time. And if you'd like help evaluating your own withdrawal strategy, you can click the link in the description and schedule a free call with our team today. Now let's move to the bucket that often creates the most tax flexibility. This is bucket number 4, Roth accounts. Now, this bucket includes Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks, any other variety of a Roth retirement account. So Roth money can be incredibly valuable in retirement. Qualified Roth withdrawals generally will not increase your taxable income or your modified adjusted gross income. So the result is simply more flexibility. If you need extra income in a high spending year, then trying to avoid jumping the tax brackets, if you're trying to manage Medicare premiums, you're trying to plan for survivor spouse or heirs, this is where Roth money is so beneficial, will help with all of those. But where many people go too far is that they hear Roth accounts are valuable and assume they should just convert every single thing they can as much as possible. And that is where this can often backfire. Large Roth conversions can increase taxes today, trigger Medicare surcharges later, and maybe even cause more Social Security to become taxable if you're already taking Social Security. So the objective isn't simply having the largest Roth balance possible, it's knowing when the Roth money should be created, preserved, or used. So this brings us to bucket number 5, healthcare. Now this is a bucket that many retirees simply underestimate because healthcare can be one of the biggest spending variables in retirement. And this bucket may include things such as health savings accounts, just allocated dollars that are healthcare reserves, looking at strategic Medicare planning, and then also looking at things down the road like long-term care planning and making decisions on other insurance items. Now, HSAs or health savings accounts can be especially powerful when they're used correctly. They may offer tax-deductible contributions, tax-deferred growth, and tax-free withdrawals for qualified medical expenses. That is quite the combination that makes HSAs one of the most tax-efficient accounts available. Now, healthcare planning goes beyond HSAs only. It includes Medicare timing, prescription coverage decisions, supplemental coverage decisions, and long-term care risk. And these cash flow needs that are set aside for unexpected healthcare expenses. So retirement plan can look great on paper until healthcare costs get ignored. And that's why this bucket truly deserves attention before retirement begins. All right, bucket number 6. Let's look at the guaranteed income bucket. And with guaranteed income, retirement often feels much more stable and secure. Now, what's in this bucket? Well, it can include things like your Social Security, pension if you're fortunate enough to have a pension, and if you have other consistent and reliable income sources, maybe rental income or an annuity income stream, those can be in this bucket that help you know that there is a floor of income coming in each and every month. And if that market starts to drop, then guess what? Your Social Security is still going to arrive, your pension will still arrive, and then you'll also have some benefits if you have other items like, again, rental income or an annuity. Those likely will continue going forward into the future, even when markets and economies start to disrupt. Now, this is where it creates real emotional stability, oftentimes for retirees. And it's the reason why one of the first things that we like to help folks calculate in retirement is to understand what is your income gap. So how much guaranteed income is coming in? How much are you planning to spend? What's the difference in that number there? Gives us what we call the income gap. And it tells us how much the investment portfolio needs to provide for your ongoing withdrawals. And once you know that number, retirement planning really can become much clearer. Some retirees discover that their portfolio doesn't need to produce as much income as they thought. Others discover that adjustments need to be made. But either way, guessing gets replaced with a more organized decision-making process. Okay, let's move to the final bucket, which is bucket number 7, legacy bucket. And this focuses on what your money is supposed to accomplish beyond just your own retirement income. So now we're talking about things like estate planning, beneficiary designations, family legacy goals, charitable giving, wealth transfer planning, and tax planning for your heirs. Now, some retirees want to maximize their own experiences in retirement. That is great. We definitely recommend doing that. Others want to help their grandchildren or children now. Others may want to do things which support maybe charities that are important to them, a church or churches, other noble causes, or just simply organizations that they care a lot about. And now others simply want to do a balanced combination of all three. And here's what's important. There's no universal right or wrong answer. The key is making sure that the plan reflects what you actually want your money to do. Otherwise, assets can keep accumulating without a clear, defined purpose. And when that happens, retirees can become overly focused on preserving money without ever deciding what the money is meant to accomplish. And that's why this legacy planning belongs as a part of the retirement conversation. Not just at the very end of life, but as part of the retirement strategy itself. So how do these 7 buckets work together? So these buckets are helpful individually, but the real value comes from seeing how they can all work together cohesively. Cash can help reduce pressure during market volatility. Taxable accounts, brokerage accounts, create tax flexibility for withdrawals. Traditional accounts help understand those for your overall withdrawal planning. The Roth accounts give you tax-free flexibility. Healthcare needs its own funding strategy for the long term. And your guaranteed income helps you define the income gap that you need to plan for with your portfolio. You can wrap it all up with legacy planning, giving that long-term purpose for your assets. Now, when these buckets are separated mentally, decisions become easier to evaluate. They should all still be overall coordinated together. So instead of looking at retirement as one giant pile of money and organizing it in just one big pile, let's spend time thinking about these 7 different buckets or decision zones. Set aside cash, have a brokerage account that's a taxable investment account, lean into your traditional retirement accounts, use Roth accounts, have a healthcare bucket, know your guaranteed income and your income gap, and make sure your plan aligns with your long-term legacy. When you do that, the questions become clear. You understand which dollars are for short-term needs. You understand which dollars create flexibility. You understand which dollars create taxable income when they're pulled from. You understand which dollars can help you manage your tax brackets appropriately. You understand which dollars are designed for health care. You understand which dollars support your lifetime income. You understand which dollars are intended for your family, your charity, your church, or other legacy goals. And that's the kind of organization that can make retirement feel far less overwhelming. So if you'd like help building out your long-term plan or even starting with a one-page financial plan so you understand how these 7 buckets work together, there's a link in the description where you can schedule a free call with our team. We'll help you identify your income gap, evaluate your overall withdrawal strategy, coordinate Social Security planning with proactive tax planning, and organize your retirement plan around these specific important goals. Because your retirement will feel much easier once every dollar has a job in your long-term plan. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.